we just arrived in Maldives. What's the first thing we're gonna do?
Jump in the sea and snorkel, see the coral.
Let's do it! So, we just came back from our first snorkeling in Maldives. We were so unconsciously expecting such a colorful bottom of the sea.
Yeah.
What we found was actually a very monochromatic.
Everything is like colorless, and there's barely around here. There's not that many fishes even.
Yeah, it's very brown and seems like it's been impacted by something. I mean, it's not like we see in the picture or we were expecting. But we need to find out more what was happening.
We need to figure out more of why this is happening, because I was definitely not aware that it was like this.
I can never rest me, you know? Even in holiday we need to do something. Let's go. So we have found these marine biologists that can explain us a little bit more about coral life. So we're gonna go there and have a chat with Martina.
Let's see what she has to say and what we can do about the situation.
Let's go. So we are here in Joali Island in beautiful Maldives. Martina is the marine biologist. She's the expert on what's happening, what is in the bottom of our seas, of our ocean.
So, as you probably might have heard, coral isn't a plant. It's actually an animal, or in fact a colony of thousands little tiny animals. And each of these individual creatures is named polyp. And polyps are close relatives of sea anemones or jellyfish. But they have very special tactic for survival. So once this little tiny polyp reaches the ocean floor, it actually starts to deposit calcium carbonate skeleton. It is also known like limestone. So what we call coral reefs are just those tiny polyps build on one another and held together by calcium carbonate. So normally they live in this really balanced, they're really in this balanced relationship, but the trouble comes when the water temperature increases. So what's happening is when the ocean temperature increases, then the algae start to release oxygen radicals, or what we sometimes call like bad oxygen molecules, which can actually harm the coral tissue. So as you see, coral is kind of forced to expel the algae just to save themselves. And when the algae got ejected, the coral also would lose its correlation, its color. So that's what we actually call coral bleaching. Actually, the bleached coral doesn't necessarily mean it's dead, not at least not just yet. So if the water temperature drops down and goes back to normal, coral can gain this algae back again and like recover and gain all those beautiful colors back. There's like thousands of different functions which coral reefs provide for us. What's the most important one is just we need to realize that coral, they cover only less than 1% of all the ocean floor, but yet they are home for around 25% of all marine species. Actually, 1/3 of all marine life spend some time of their life on the reef.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a lot. But when we are talking about losing coral reefs, it's not only about that we lose all of those fish which depend on them. Actually, it has terrible consequences because it goes up right to the whole food web, to the food chain. All the larger creatures like sharks and turtles and even dolphins and depend on coral reefs to feed themselves. So in fact, around 70 or 80% of the oxygen we breathe comes from the ocean. Coral reefs also play some part of it because, as I mentioned, those algae, they photosynthesize in a similar way as plants do. So in that way, they would absorb CO2 and release oxygen. So as I mentioned to you, normally they are able to recover from bleaching and they should be fine. This is just a defense mechanism. But the problem is due to global warming, due to climate change. First of all, those bleaching events are more frequent, and 2016 as an example, when we have those extreme water temperature together with El Nino event combined, and it's not only in Maldives. We experience around 90% of coral bleached, which leads to mass coral mortalities all over the world.
Everywhere in
Yeah,
the
even
world.
in Great Barrier Reef in Australia, basically everywhere. In some part of the world it's more, in some part of the world less. But when we're talking about Maldives, they estimated that up to 90% of our corals were bleached. And in some places, in some of the reefs, 60% of them, they died. But to give you an example, for instance, in 1998, which was the first first global bleaching event recorded in history, in Maldives, it took Reef 12 years to recover. But we need to understand that Reef is only able to recover when there is no another bleaching event without any disturbances. And what's happening here, like each year we observe it, and what scientists predict that we still contribute to global warming, and it's only getting worse. So it's going to be more and more difficult for us to recover. Maybe the problem is that so many people, they are not aware that we also have a huge impact on corals, not only by living in an island nation, but even you sitting back at home, and you might be in the middle of land, not even connected with the ocean, you still have such a huge impact on corals. So at the moment, what they estimated, what we predict, if we continue business as usual, by 2030, which is like as little as in 10 years, around 90% of corals, they will be threatened, and by 2050, almost near of them, almost 100%, they will be a threat.
Wow.
So we really need to take an action now. It was
We
never
will lose all wildlife, everything.
Year
Yeah.
means that our kids won't ever see the corals.
even you
Yeah.
later on, you won't ever
and,
see them.
and
Yeah.
like that's been the 1/3 of our life in underwater will be that.
So first step, consider to cut off your carbon footprint. And there's so many examples, from switching to like energy efficient light bulbs to cutting your meat consumption. I like to call it or ask people to become like flexitarian. So you sustainable and responsibly sourced food. You should check the packaging or the ingredients. Eat locally and seasonally. That's the first step. Other than that, recycle. You can do that at each part of the world. That's so easy to do. What else can you do? You can support some eco-friendly or reef-friendly businesses or some conservation organization. When you are in Maldives or anywhere in the world, when we have reefs, just go for responsible diving and snorkeling practices. So don't touch anything, don't step on coral. They are not like dead rocks. They are just animals.
Give us the example of what you doing here at Joali, and you know, you told me previously, I was so amazed. Please tell us what you're doing. It's so incredible.
Right, so what we are doing here, we call it two-step gardening approach. So first of all, we collect something which I like to call corals of opportunity. So they are corals which are naturally dislodged from the reef, or like little broken coral fragments, and we try to give them a second chance. So we would collect those, and then we would dive to our midwater nursery. We have there like those 3 structures which we grow corals on, and we keep them and maintain them there for like 9 up to 12 months when they are like big enough. And from one coral fragments we can produce around 4 or 5 more, which are transplants which are ready to be put back there on the reef. And why we decided to use this approach is like, instead of going to nearby reef and just harvesting corals there and impacting surrounding reef, we want to grow our own self-sustained genetic bank of corals. So I'm sure that if you come back in a few months, you can actually see the difference. But corals actually, they grow really, really slow.
Yeah.
Some of the massive corals, they grow only as little as few millimeters per year. It's probably one of the most important things when you ask me what we can do. Yeah, it's like educate yourself and spread the message. That's what's the most needed, because myself alone, I cannot do anything. But if all of us will take an action, then I really believe we can help the relationship over. So thank you so much for that, guys.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you so much. That was so good of you. And we hope everybody will follow us in this and help us spread the message further and experience what is happening around us and support a better future.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated on the process.
See you next time.
See you.
Thank you.